Do you know what month it is?
Fuck you, it's
May.
Hey, so, just a quick disclaimer. There's some fast-moving images and flashing effects in this one, as well as some occasional loud noises for the funny. I wouldn't listen at full volume if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff. If you continue watching despite all these warnings and still complain, you're a fucking moron. It's better late than never, I guess, as they say. They say that, right? Right? Every so often, someone who's a total outsider to the vocal synth community makes a video about it that is rife with misinformation and really piss-poor hot takes. I cannot tell you why this keeps happening. I know that was quite a line to swallow, but I'm actually not entirely against people outside the vocal synth sphere talking about it. That would make me a huge hypocrite. I'm someone who frequently has had to do a lot of in-depth research into topics, media, cultures, etc. that I'm not even remotely familiar with. Pretty much everyone will have to do the same thing for school or in their profession, as no one is just born knowing everything about every single subject. But that's the thing. It's imperative that you do a lot of research when you cover not just vocal synth, but really anything you don't have a lot of experience in. It especially matters when talking about vocal synth because this is a very niche hobby and market. When people with subscriber base is much larger than the size of the average vocal synth user talk about it, representing the community, software, musicians, and everything else the vocal synth umbrella encompasses is much more crucial than it is for almost any other niche interest. With all that being said, you can probably imagine why it makes me so agitated when people seemingly only talk about vocal synth in an "ooh, isn't this weird?" condescending way. I know an unfortunate number of us will remember that really awful Aki Dearest video where she makes this baffling claim that there's some turf war between Vocaloid and Nutao users, and implies that Vocaloid is better only because it's commercial. In reality, the Venn diagram of Utao users and Vocaloid users is a hair away from being a circle. You'll find that most Vocaloid users are also Utao users and vice versa. I know because I use both. Even then, there isn't some violent civil war between the camps of vocal synth users over which software is the best. Most users will have preferences for voices or genres they like, sure, but overall, the people that already know enough about vocal synth to use the programs will likely be using more than one. It's videos like Aki's that make me, unfortunately, extremely suspicious of outsiders making vocal synth history videos, as Aki's video was far too short, misinformed, and just painted vocal synth users in a bad, petty light. However, I had some faith that we wouldn't get another video like Aki's again. Besides, Aki's video was made many years ago and didn't have much of a significant impact on me or other people in the vocal synth fanbase. What an overly optimistic outlook I once had. YouTuber Illuminati uploaded a video on September 2nd, yes, I know it's taken me this long, literally the day before my birthday that year, titled Virtual Vocalist, Hatsune Miku and Vocaloid's Prism of the Past. Spoilers for whoever cares. This video's dog shit. Big surprise there. This video is misinformed to a degree I haven't seen in a very long time, to the point that, as you'll see, I'll be able to disprove so many things in this video by just a simple Google search alone. This is all made worse by the fact that Illuminati has over 1 million subscribers. She has much more reach now than Aki Dearest had back when her crappy Vocaloid video went up. It's maddening on its own, and I'd say that it could do some real harm. I'm someone who's been using vocal synth software for over a decade, and a major part of the job is, unfortunately, correcting misinformation. So when I have to focus my efforts on such a large channel spreading straight up lies instead of things like telling a 10-year-old how to set their locale to Japanese so they can use Utao, it makes me all the more enraged. After seeing the backlash this video got, as well as reading the very comprehensive document by Dudu Danyon and Izzy Vitelli, I figured that the misinformation spread warranted a video response debunking and correcting basically the whole video. I knew this would be a huge undertaking that I wouldn't be able to take on alone, so for the first time, I've had to bring in some backup. I'm starting off fresh, and I feel good, I look good, I smells good, I am good. I'm better than that. I'm calm. And this next call's gonna be wonderful. I can just feel it. I'm calm. Good evening.
Fucking genie.
Kiss my ass! So, as I said, my lovely associate and friend Neeks is going to be providing some help to me on what is going to be a behemoth of a video. This is the first video of its kind, one for the history books and everything. Why don't you introduce yourself to the class?
Hello everyone, I'm Neeks Source, and I'm going to be second mic to Yuna in this video. After she announced she was going to make a response, I became interested in possible collaboration. Now, one thing led to another, and we spent 2 hours on a Discord call recording a live reaction.
Yeah, so I'm trying something different since this is a bit of a different video than other commentary videos I've made in the past. Yes, I know, it's only 2 and it's about the same person, it's still my best work. We both opted to record a live reaction and go into the video blind, and I'll be inserting some of that call into this video with some funky edits, but I will also be releasing the full unedited first reaction after this video goes up. It hopefully will be uploaded fairly soon after, not anything more than a couple days, everything permitting. It is going to be a long watch, but I hope that I've accrued a hive audience that also watches 4-hour video essays regularly. I'll admit, the call was a casual, unscripted reaction, so there may be things I neglected to remember on the fly, but I'll hopefully have rectified that in this video. If there is anything that I happen to get wrong or just forget, don't be afraid to correct me in the comments. I'll actually be receptive to taking feedback into consideration. Ooh, foreshadowing.
Yeah, I know that I didn't want to make this video as a cliche feel sorry for me YouTuber move, but we didn't want to watch this video. Before the real meat of the response starts, let me just say that you and I have been in the vocal synth community for a very long time, not just as casual listeners, but as producers, Uter creators, musicians, etc. This is going to be something that gets said a lot in this response, but correcting this level of misinformation is vital, because this community is niche and not understood well or even represented to outsiders. It's also just a genuinely sloppy and poorly researched video. It pissed us off greatly.
I have timestamps in the description if you're looking for specific things, but I do encourage you to watch this whole video through at least once, even the section explaining why Illuminati or Blair didn't just make one bad video. This video is ungodly long to view, but please think about how I edited all this and how long it fucking took. Quick little aside when viewing this video before I even hit play, there are several things sticking out that are red flags. First is that this video has Prism of the Past in the title. I don't like the implication that Vocaloid is some kind of abandonware that no one's using anymore, when you can literally still buy Vocaloid engines from the past. Vocaloid being dead is a sentiment I've said I'm not fond of before because it's just not true. Vocaloid 5 is purported to be the last Vocaloid engine we'll see, but as time has gone on, I'm not even sure that Vocaloid is considered dead to Yamaha. Vocaloid is huge in China as well as Japan, I'd say even more popular in China, so new voices are still being developed, and I'm pretty sure Vocaloid still has some years left before it all goes completely kaput. VocalSynth itself isn't dead because the technology and industry is rapidly expanding and becoming much more well-known than it once was. Hell, even some Vocaloids have jumped from Vocaloid to other VocalSynth engines like Synthvie and Sevio. Sevio? Or is it Chevio? I've actually never heard someone say it.
I think it's Chevio, it kind of was like Chevio, so...
My point is that the community is going to keep Vocaloid very much alive long after Daddy Yamaha pulls the plug. The other things, although admittedly petty and minor, is that her engagement is kind of laughable. Illuminati has 1.02 million subscribers, and channel-wide, her engagement is just sad, for lack of a better term. I've seen channels of her size have monumental engagement that leads to views far above their sub count, i.e. some with a million subs getting several million within the first week. She also pumps out videos to an insane degree, considering these are 30-minute videos each. Despite having multiple editors and a research team, this video, as well as a lot of others on her channel, turned out so poorly. I also noticed this was a sponsored video, which I could tell because I have sponsor block on. If you're not familiar with the YouTube metagame, sponsored videos are very hard to remove, so to all the people saying they were going to report the video for false info,
Good luck, man!
Why is the amount of dislikes so fucking low? We've already failed. Okay, that's quite enough setup for this lame punchline. Let's get into the actual video.
Vocaloid software is meant to provide a virtual singer for music production, but are these singers really able to emulate the emotion of a flesh and blood musician?
I already don't want to do this anymore. Okay, so I am so sick of the incorrect assumptions so many people have that VocalSynth's purpose is to be a replacement for or on par with real human singers. If you've ever even listened to a Vocaloid song, you know this isn't the case. Not to sound too controversial right away, but it takes so much work to make any VocalSynth singer sound good, let alone so human-like it can replace a human voice. Except for Kai, I think he's got us all beat, we can all go home. Also, why did she say history of voice banks? For those that aren't in the know, all two of you, voice bank refers to not just the individual and separate Vocaloid voices and characters, but this is a term used to distinguish the unique voices on almost every other VocalSynth software. Shouldn't it be history of Vocaloids? I don't know, I thought that was quite the oversight. We're not even 30 seconds in, good god. Get used to the whiplash this is gonna cause because we're right back into the misinformation. Be careful not to break those necks.
It wasn't until 1961 when a machine sang, though.
Oh my God!
No! This is literally incorrect already! Fuck! The first machine to sing was the Voder, which debuted in 1939. That's over 20 years earlier. The Voder was invented by Homer Dudley for the Bell Telephone Laboratory in 1939 and was shown at the 1939 World's Fair. The Voder could imitate speech and singing. This is what the Voder sounded like speaking and singing respectively.
Say the sentence in answer to these questions. Who saw you?
She saw me.
Whom did she see?
She saw me.
Well, did she see you or hear you?
She saw me.
Now, so far, you have only heard the voter speak in one voice. But the voter has other voices which he can use when Miss Harper makes a simple adjustment in his mechanism. Helen, will you have the voter say, "Greetings, everybody"?
Greetings, everybody.
Now, will you have him repeat that in a high voice?
Greetings, everybody.
And now, in his best bass.
Greetings, everybody.
Yes, voter can not only talk, but he can sing. Test your voice for us, voter. Well, if you've quite recovered from your mood of depression of a few minutes ago, suppose you sing a song for us, will you?
Yes, certainly.
Well, how about Auld Lang Syne?
Okay. She called the flamers before I never going on. She called the flamers before I never going.
Why can't you frickin' fricks ever acknowledge the
1930s?
Voder also had quite a number of women that were trained in operating it, as this is a very intensive machine, which was quite a feat for 1939. Voder quite literally pioneered the way forward into machine-generated speech and vocal synth singing that are much more common today. Speech synthesis perhaps even more so because text-to-speech is an incredibly important accessibility tool. To kind of drive home why this irritates me, if it weren't for the Voder, we wouldn't have the IBM 7094 and we wouldn't have, well, Vocaloid.
According to my source, Clarke was so impressed that he incorporated the 7094's musical performance in the 1968 novel and the script for the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey. One of the first things that Clarke's fictional HAL 9000 computer had learned when it originally programmed was the song Daisy Bell. Near the end of the story, when the computer was being deactivated or put to sleep by astronaut Dave Bowman, it lost its mind and degenerated to singing Daisy Bell.
Would it absolutely kill you to insert a clip of this?
Years later, around the late 90s, Jordi Bonata, a senior researcher at the Music Technology Group in Pompeu Fabra University in Barcelona, began working on Project Elvis in a collaboration with Yamaha.
So, it turns out the Elvis Project 2 Daisy Project 2 Vocaloid pipeline is, real, so I guess I can give that one to Blair. I'd just never heard of the Elvis Project before.
One thing we picked up on is the questionable footage choices Blair uses throughout the whole video, to put it generously. Blair is talking about Vocaloid 1, but uses footage from Vocaloid 5 and Voiceroid, which is a completely different software. If you're doing a history of Vocaloid video, it won't make sense to go in chronological order of the software releases. You don't wanna, confuse your audience or mislead them, do you?
Hatsune Miku officially arrived in stores.
That is,
she was envisioned.
again, this is a V3
yeah, like it's
thing.
on the fucking box art. It's on the.
You can see it. How do you not catch this? This is not her V2 box art. Even though she showed the K image, but like, oh my god.
Literally 6 different Vocaloids released before Miku, and only 3 are mentioned. There's no mention of Miriam, Sweet Anne, or Kaito, even though Kaito is the second ever Japanese Vocaloid to be released. So many of these dates are infuriatingly incorrect. Also, this unfortunately becomes a running theme in the video, but whoever is editing this keeps inserting the completely wrong box art for which voice bank release is being talked about. Vocaloid 1 and 2 Vocaloids are repeatedly shown with box art for the releases on V3 or V4. Meiko did not look like that in 2004. It's literally her Vocaloid 3 box art. Also, this next point is really cringe.
Vocaloid was introduced to the world in 2003 at the German music trade show Musikmesse. In 2004, Vocaloid 1 became available to the public when British company Zero G purchased a license and released Leon and Lola.
Why would you use early 2000s MMD footage?
Their packaging features close-up on pictures of lips and some text, seemingly making it difficult for people to actually connect to these so-called singers.
Kill me. So let me educate the normies on something. When Vocaloid was first released, most of the voice banks didn't have character mascots because this was not common yet. Vocaloid originally was, and still is, marketed as a professional tool for professional musicians. Musicians using these voice banks for their intended purpose, i.e. singing on their tracks, did not care about if a character was on the box or not. All they cared about was what tone the Vocaloid produced. Another reason that this was and is done is that oftentimes people want to preserve their anonymity, and voice providers being listed as anonymous or under pseudonyms is pretty common. Now, I think that the Vocaloid wiki is often an unreliable source, but they've been threatened with DMCA takedowns over revealing too much about voice providers. Even if you can find who provided the samples for which voice bank elsewhere, the people legally representing voice providers are pretty stringent on what they will and will not allow to be public info. Also, why does it matter so much that a Vocaloid doesn't have a character representing the bank? Part of the beauty of Vocaloid is that a lot is left up to the user's own interpretation. Plus, this is a vocal synthesizer. It's for generating singing vocals when the user can't or doesn't want to sing themselves. It's not a gacha game collecting anime girl PNGs. You can have an expertly designed character that looks flawless, but if the voice bank behind it doesn't stack up, it's just worthless to me. Now, I do have more to say about this point, but it ties into something that will become relevant later, so I'll just leave it there for now. Just keep all this in the back of your brain for when it resurfaces. Oh, what's this? Oh hey kids, we made it to the lightning round! Let's blaze through every time Blair horrendously and awkwardly mispronounces someone's name.
Christian Kratzenstein developed a machine—
Kratzenstein! we only got another second word!
2003 at the German music trade show Musikmesse. In 2004—
Did she pronounce that right?
No! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you made a horrible mispronunciation. So it's Musikmesse, and she said Musikmesse.
Oh
and
my god.
You know what Messe means?
What?
Messe means knife.
At Sonomiku, Bud recruited Saki Fujita, an anime actress, to have her voice samples created. I met Hideki Kimochi the first time. Hideki Kimochi is known as the father of Vocaloid.
It's
7 years after joining Yamaha, and this is something that greatly interested Wataru Sasaki. Vocals dumped in autotune was created by Yasutaka Nakata, meaning pop artist real, and the singer-songwriter Kenshi Tansu, who started—
Hold on! Who is Kenshi Tansu?
Also, she's pronounced Real's name as Real?
Isn't it pronounced rail?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, yeah, right.
Wait.
Companies wanted to follow suit. Utau is another well-known voice synthesizer, but Utau is self-developed. Utau seems better suited to hobbyists according to the reviews I found. Chinese and Korean producers like Soulpie and CU have been attempting—
Soulpie? What the hell is a Soulpie?
Better and better Utabloids appear.
Tabloids?
Tabloids?
Okay, that was pronunciation. That was good. That was gold.
Utau drama doesn't exist anymore. We shall now call it Utabloids.
Dude, oh my god.
Let's just call it Utabloids.
We're gonna fucking use that so much now.
That's, let's see here, 12 times. How do you not proofread this shit?
Some men sexualize her, which is just, creepy because she's 16 years old.
Here we fucking go. Alright, time to make some idiot antis mad, my favorite pastime. The only reason I wake up in the morning is so I have extra time to be a hater. On a serious note, Miku is not locked into being 16 years old, nor is most every other Vocaloid locked into their ages. The only exceptions that exist are the Vocaloids who have actual children as voice providers, which Miku isn't. Her being a blank canvas also applies to her age. Her age is as much up for interpretation as everything else about her is. You are totally and freely within your right to portray her as 18+ and doing sexual things. Sure, if you made something with Miku where she's, I don't know, portrayed as a toddler getting fisted, yeah, that breaks some EULAs, but you can't get mad at anyone who portrays Miku as an adult doing adult things because her age is not static. Hell, someone already pointed out that Miku has a birthday implying she ages. So she would be, let me do the math. She'd be 30 today if she was 16 at the time of her release. Miku's a MILF confirmed? Wait, this is just Tedo's character. Time is a flat circle.
Her most famous songs describes her as blue hair, blue tie, hiding in your Wi-Fi.
You gonna say what the name of the song is?
The song she's referring to but doesn't name herself is Anamanaguchi's Miku. It was released in 2016 and is a pop track. There is no credit for Anamanaguchi in this video, despite Blair later having a section about the push for crediting producers for their songs, not the Vocaloid who sang them. It's the sloppiness for me. It's the poor research for me. It's the hypocrisy for me. I know Miku is a well-known song, but Miku's had so many other recognizable classics, like World Is Mine and Shinitagare are the first songs I ever heard featuring Miku when I was 10. You gonna bring up those? No? What did I expect? There's another point that I want to bring up, but I'll touch on later more in depth. Blair seems to only talk about EDM or pop music as it pertains to Vocaloid, as if she doesn't realize Vocaloid is a tool and not a genre.
Krypton actively encouraged this character appropriation, creating the Pia Pro character license, allowing users to take Miku's image and do what they want with it, so long as it isn't for commercial gain.
So we never heard of this, but I guess it's real. I guess it's just a good enough thing, so the point goes to Blair there.
One of my sources explains that the popularity of fictional characters like Miku could be due to the idealized female in Japan.
The what? The fuck are you talking about?
I swear to God, I do this movie comic.
This is meek, young, innocent, vaginal. Oh, I'm sorry, it reads virginal.
It shouldn't even have to be said why this is racist, but it is. It's so inappropriate to assume this about a culture you're not a part of and don't even know enough about, and yet still try to position yourself as an authority on it. Every culture has things to criticize, sure, but you cannot make that criticism by treating an entire nation of people like they're a zoo animal. Japan and a lot of Asian countries have pretty awful beauty standards, but it's not like other overseas countries are doing any better. To say that Miku is bad because she's this idealized woman bullshit is so unbelievably tone deaf towards a whole culture. It's not only infantilizing a population of 125.8 million people, it's racist. No way around it.
Oh no. Oh no, the caption. Oh no, even some of the most Vocaloid. Oh my fucking god. Here we go.
Vocaloid producers sexualized her, like in later song Sweet Devil, where Miku is sexually active, asking the listeners, "Am I showing too much cleavage?"
Oh my god! You did not! We've been over this! For the love of God!
For the love of God! Please!
Also, Sweet Devil is one of the most tame songs you could have picked. What about Gigantic OTN? What about Alice Human Sacrifice? What about Mind Brand? What about every Marutu song? What about Utsu's discography? I could go on for literally forever. Literally one of the first things I learned when I first got into Vocaloid is how easy it is to find dark content. It was something I felt proud of, like I was in an in-group. It was special to me when I found out that Vocaloid music wasn't just relegated to pop or super saccharine ooh anime songs. And Miku could scream. Blair implies that Vocaloid music is only the fluff pop shit, but don't even speak to me unless you've heard these bangers. could go on and on. My point is, the beauty of vocal synth is that so many genres and themes could be covered by anyone. It's also irritating to hear Blair go, "Ew, why would you ever do something so icky?" Your taste in fiction does not matter, nor is it a reflection of your own morals or beliefs. Your taste in reality matters infinitely more. You can pretend to be the most holier-than-thou, uwu positive person, but if you're in a moral majority crusade and harassing, threatening, doxing, or otherwise just shitting on the people that dare to say harassing people over fiction is whack shit, you are scum of the earth. Do not feel afraid to depict whatever you want in fiction. That is the beauty of fiction, for God's sake. Anyway, this could be a whole other video for another time, but you get my point. Projecting your shitty fundamentalist American fascist beliefs onto what is mostly Japanese culture and citizens in this case shows way more about your character than it does theirs.
The Japan Times wrote in 2007 that despite Hatsune Miku's software being only 10 years old, her ascendant—
Guys, she's only 10 years old! Guys!
Wait.
Not legal, not legal!
In 2007? They said she was only 10 years old? You mean the year she was released? 2007?
Wait, when is this written? When?
cultural impact as well. The Japan Times wrote in 2000—
Wasn't she released in 2007?
2007, oh my god.
What the?
Blair?
Okay, I need to think about this for a second. You really included the line that Miku is 10 years old in the same year that she was released.
Blair, are the Japan Times time travelers now?
I guess.
I think this speaks for itself. Yes, Miku was 10 years old in the year she was released.
Leading pop artist Real and the singer-songwriter Kenshi Tansu, who started—
Hold on! Who is Kenshi Tansu?
I don't know how you could get this wrong, like, this badly. I know most of you are gonna know this already, but Kenshi Yonezu is Hachi. He produces some of the most popular Vocaloid songs under the Hachi pseudonym. Tracks including things like Donut Hall, Matryoshka, Sound Planet, Hold, Release, Rakshasa and Carcasses, Panda Hero, Rinne. The list goes on. Like I said during the live reaction, I'll never begrudge someone for not being able to pronounce the name correctly at first in a casual setting. However, if you're putting out an accurate historical video about something, you should at least research how to say a name. And honestly, Japanese names aren't that fucking hard. There's 5 vowels in this language, and once you have the pitch accent correct, you can sound accurate. Then again, who am I kidding? No actual research went into this video.
Sure, while the hologram aspect of Miku is interesting and gets a lot of attention, it's the fact that all her music, including the song—
Yeah, we gonna talk about Luca? She's on the thumbnail, but like, is she ever brought up by name?
This is so minor and so petty, but Luca is shown at a holographic concert no less, and is included in the thumbnail, but never gets mentioned by name. Luca is actually pretty important to Vocaloid history, considering that she's the first Vocaloid that was bilingual. She had an English and Japanese band released in 2009, and inspired other Vocaloids to follow suit. Nowadays, it's somewhat of a standard that Vocaloids and other vocal synths are multilingual. That's also somewhat of a strange thing. So few Vocaloids are actually mentioned in this Vocaloid history video. At the time of this video, there are 69 Vocaloids. This is just going by character names and not append voice banks for characters. If we were to treat Miku Solid, Miku Dark, Gumi Native, etc. as their own number, the list will go into the hundreds. I know that not every Vocaloid could be mentioned, but this is a very Miku and Krypton-centric video. Far too few get mentioned by name, and this causes further misinformation to be spread, just by omission. There is a very blatant you'll miss mention of how Yamaha has an agreement with third parties to develop Vocaloids for its software, but none of these third parties companies are mentioned. No mention of the level of contributors of AHS, Internet Co, PowerFX, Zero G, just nothing. Going back to the holograms, these are a staple for Vocaloid concerts, as well as other virtual acts like Gorillaz. Vocaloid concerts are conducted with live bands, as well as 3D model holograms of the Vocaloid characters motion captured from actual dancers and choreographers. Are we following? The animation and Vocaloid singing and speech are all done in advance, however the live elements still the suspension of disbelief. The appeal of these concerts is why something like Gorillaz is appealing. Everyone knows that the Gorillaz are fictional characters, but it's simply fun to buy into the illusion that these are real musicians and singers. Vocaloid concerts are also fucking hype. I can't believe that aspect was neglected, considering Hatsune Miku is a virtual idol, as well as other Vocaloids. There's also the fact that Miku has appeared in advertisements with established brands, but there's more to say about it when that crops up later.
As a result of Sasaki's early decisions, he was able to make money without appearing greedy or extorting control over the fans, allowing this community to truly flourish.
Did she say extorting control when it says exerting control? Oh my god. Miku's creators managed to make money without exerting control over what fans do with the character, claiming down or pirating. Uh-oh! We gotta talk piracy!
Ooh.
Okay, so there was so much to debunk from that. First, this statement is so weirdly presented. The graphic screams I pulled this directly out of my ass. It's likely not even credited from a reliable source. Which, by the way, Blair's sources for this video are laughably bad. She literally cites the Vocaloid Amino for this. The Vocaloid Amino is the one place worse than the Vocaloid Fandom Wiki for getting reliable information. The Amino and Fandom Wiki are literally the two places we tell people not to use as sources. And that's just considering the research that was actually done. Not nearly enough actual research was done. The schools are failing, bro. There's so much to say about piracy, so much that I have 2 different videos discussing the very subject. If you want to hear me rag on yet another person who doesn't get it, as well as a more thorough explanation as to why Vocaloid piracy is objectively bad, I suggest you refer to those. They're also very entertaining. I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record because I have to explain why piracy is bad at almost every turn nowadays, but I will condense the main points that I want viewers to take away. Pirating Vocaloid does not work at all the same way pirating, say, a Hollywood movie. Hollywood gives zero shits if you pirate a movie. They're still going to make money. They're not going to fail for a very long time. The thing about Vocaloid is that it is a very niche software. Blair and others like her would mislead you into believing that Vocaloid is very huge and popular, made by a vile megacorporation. Sure, Miku is a popular figure and a lot of people are familiar with Vocaloid music, even in the States or, well, anywhere non-Japan. But once you get down to the level of people that actually have the software installed, use Vocaloid produced music, make Utaos, we're getting to you! That population pool gets much, much smaller. The software itself has to maintain a good reputation, which it just doesn't really have to mainstream audiences. Even with something more mild like, this is that anime thing, Vocaloid has to stay in good standings or else the entire product ceases to exist. Now, there's one big elephant in the room, but since I already covered it in 2020, allow past me to explain. Okay, I want to bring up a specific incident that happened with VY2V3, or Yuma, just for the sake of brevity. I had to pull this from the Vocaloid wiki, as sadly the Vocaloid Otaku link this was cited from is dead, as is VO itself. Essentially, a VO user wanted to find out how many torrented downloads had been made of Vocaloids at the time. Yuma had 12,434 illegal downloads and was the highest number of a single vocal package and was only beat out by some that came in packs of multiple. Yamaha sadly was under the impression that Yuma wasn't popular or selling. The truth was, he was popular but pirated so much that it didn't reflect in the sales numbers. The consequence of which, Yuma never saw a V4 update due to how bad the piracy of his V3 bank got. I really hope you're starting to see why this is such a bad thing to do. I know Mako and others are hung up on Yamaha being a multi-million-dollar affair, so it justifies any and all piracy, and that's just grossly incorrect. Mako does say that third-party companies suffer, but I feel that he just really glossed over why this hurts the third parties more. Most third-party companies aren't sitting on millions of dollars, so when one of their main sources of revenue is consistently pirated, they'll either have to go out of business if they're reliant on Vocaloid or switch to producing something else to stay around, which often means no more Vocaloids from that company. I feel that bringing the whole piracy is anti-capitalist argument into this is just childish and only contributes to the problem. So yeah, piracy is much more dangerous to Vocaloid than I think Blair or Mako realize. Please just legally purchase this software for the love of God.
So true.
Likewise, when Miku was featured on that Toyota ad we mentioned earlier, it only alienated the community they were trying to engage. Apparently in the
citation needed for this because we thought it was fucking funny.
Yeah.
What was the backlash for this? Like, I remember being like, this was 2012, right? I was like 12, 13 in 2012, and I thought that this was like the best shit I'd ever fucking seen. I was actually around for this ad when it was new, and I literally thought this was the coolest thing ever. The Hot Dog Man ad still lives in my head rent-free to this day because it's comedy gold. I wish advertisements today were more like this.
It's strange how she says all this, but also fails to mention quite a few advertisements Miku and other Vocaloids have been involved in. Why am I not surprised?
Naturally, with the success of Miku, other companies wanted to follow suit. Utau is another well-known voice synthesizer, though it's not nearly as well-known as Vocaloid. It was released in 2008 and is free to use. Though similar, the key differences are in their voice banks. Vocaloids are made by studios that are licensed by Yamaha. Vocaloid uses vocal phonetics for a wide range of possibilities, but Utau is self-developed. In other words, you have to make your own voice bank. You can't buy Miku's voice bank or other characters, but you can create your own.
Good fucking lord, here we go.
First things first, why is she so insistent that you have to make your own voice bank? Like, that's the only option. The logic is already defeated the more I think about it. The thing about voice banks is a lot of them are publicly distributed for free. You can be an Utau user without ever making your own bank and just downloading and using others. Hell, non-commercial and Utau are terms that go hand in hand. Utau is a free alternative to Vocaloid, or $30 if you get a shareware code, but this isn't an absolute requirement to use it. It's very rare that there are any Utau banks that you have to buy or even get a commercial license to use. There are some Utau voice banks that are on the same level of quality or even better than commercial Vocaloids, but they are largely available to be used for free. Most Utaus are used in a non-commercial way, and even if they are, the creator of that specific Utau is usually the one using them in a commercial way.
Utau seems better suited to hobbyists according to the reviews I found.
You know, I wonder if any of these Utau users gave permissions for the footage to be used in this video. I'm gonna wager a guess of definitely not.
Lucia and Luan were also new Vocaloids created after Miku exploded onto the scene. They were two Spanish Vocaloid programs programmed by the artist Giuseppe.
Wait, hold on. This right here is extremely misleading. Now, some people may not know this, but Lucia and Luan were scams. Giuseppe is a bit of an old drama, but he was an indie Vocaloid developer who claimed to be developing two Spanish Vocaloids for Vocaloid 4. The entire production was extremely shady, and to summarize, Giuseppe repeatedly avoided paying for a Vocaloid license and was turned down by various third-party companies. Luan also came under fire because he was revealed to be voiced by Akuo, someone that a Vocaloid wiki user claimed was worse than ISIS among the Spanish-speaking vocal synth fandom. So you have that going for you. Blair fails to mention Bruno or Micah, and though she mentions Clara, I find it odd that at least Micah wasn't mentioned because Micah is extremely popular. Micah is an excellently made Spanish Vocaloid, but the Catalan Reckless she was recorded on allows for her to be used in a multilingual sense. She even has an English to Micah job plugin in Vocaloid that automatically converts English Vocaloid Sampa to her phonemes. Also, the range on this one. Great, now it's weird. You know what? Since we're on the topic of Utau in Spanish and my brain rubbed two cells together, I'm not surprised Blair doesn't bring this up, but the Spanish Utau and general vocal synth community is large, helped in large part due to Aku P and his Utau Mike, who got introduced to me by a friend back in 2018. I don't know how I didn't find out about this whole other side to the Utau community earlier or on my own, but I'm glad I did. It led me to my favorite Utau and, well, quite a few originals. I'm sorry all my other Utaus, I do play favorites. Due to Mike's popularity, it got him a V2 update with multilingual voice banks, great for when this is a bank I've used quite a bit. Oh, Mike, mi amor. This isn't what I wrote! The point here is that the Utau community actually covers a very large swath of people from all over the world because of how accessible Utau is and how relatively easy it is to make your own banks, once you know what you're doing. One thing that surprised me is how huge the Russian Utau community is. It wasn't something I expected, but as soon as I made a Russian Utau, I suddenly discovered this huge demographic of the community I had previously no knowledge of. Shout out to the Russian Utau community. I know tons of shit's going on in your country and Ukraine, and none of it looks good. I hope everyone over there makes it out okay. There's no reason for war. I'm kind of bereft that Blair didn't take into account that the Utau community is pretty huge globally. She also does that shit I fucking hate where she implies that Utau is bad and Vocaloid is better because you pay for Vocaloid and Miku's on there. I guess this is as good a time as any to say Miku's not my type, and that I'd rather attach myself to Big Al's.
Other Other Vocaloids, such as Leon and Lola from earlier, and I know it's a lot of L names, were both sampled from black vocalists, and yet Leon and Lola themselves are depicted as white.
What? I thought you said before you were having trouble connecting to these faceless synthesizer voices earlier in this video, and now they're bad because they've mostly been portrayed as white? I just don't get this hypocritical stance. So, for those who don't know, Leon and Lola were confirmed to be voiced by black soul singers. However, this reveal came long after the most common depiction was quote-unquote white Leon. My stance on this is controversial to some. It's that if they don't have a canon appearance or mascot, you're free to interpret them any way you wish. You are not racist for how you portray Leon, and neither is a Japanese fandom for portraying him and Lola in a similar way to the archetypes of the Krypton gang. If you want to portray Leon and Lola as black, you are free to. What you are not free to do is attack and harass people for coming up with the wrong headcanon. It doesn't matter. The whole Leon and Lola race war bullshit Voca Twitter manufactured is fucking stupid, and it needs to end. She also says that multicultural representation is lacking, which, again, I'm wondering if Blair considers Japanese people POC, or she just doesn't think that anime characters are a good Asian rep because they don't have slanty eyes. No matter how you slice it, it's fucking racist. Something about statements like Vocaloids are lacking in POC characters irks me because a large number of Vocaloids are Japanese, you know, Asians, who are also people of color. For God's sake.
Chinese and Korean producers like Soul Pie and CU have been attempting.
Soul Pie?
Soul Pie?
What the hell is a Soul Pie?
In this part, Blair attempts to cover some controversies and fails horribly. There were two big reasons that CU didn't do well. The first is that one of her initial demos, iFantasy, was criticized for being false advertising, as her voice provider sang backing vocals with CU. Flashy demos are all fine and good, but Vocaloid users are gonna be disappointed when the product is not up to snuff. The other larger issue was that CU's voice provider was arrested. Quoting from Vocal History posted in 2016, a warrant for the arrest of CU's voice provider, Kim Da-hee, was issued 2 years ago today. She and her friend, model Lee Tion, blackmailed actor Lee Byung-hun with personal videos of him, demanding 5 billion Korean won, which are approximately $5 million US. Yes, there is an unfortunate problem of Japan and Korea not having the best relations, and this likely kills CU's chances. I'm still not gonna make weird assumptions about a group of people I do not know personally nor represent.
It's not to say
I know
that
that's not new
isn't still
information to
incredibly popular
everyone.
now. The era isn't entirely over, but the novelty has worn off to some extent. The
Oh
community
my
fans are still
god!
going
No,
strong.
no, put that back up on screen. Angel? Why are you quoting Angel? She's literally the worst person on fucking Vocaloid Wiki.
Why are you quoting this nearly 40-year-old woman?
This woman is
more
fucking
insufferable than
literally
Blair.
insane. This woman is just institution, straight jacket. Just fucking.
The community.
If you go on the Vocaloid wiki, you can see her fucking bizarre responses to anything and everything, but everyone within the community knows that Angel is literally terrorizing the wiki and the rest of the fandom with her bullshit. Angel is also 40, if she's to be believed, so it makes it even worse.
In May of this year, users have posted suggesting that they make a rule that producers should be credited.
It took us long enough, but we're finally here. We're finally at something actually quite important. What does Blair have to say about this? I do wonder.
In May of this year, users have posted suggesting that they make a rule that producers should be credited. You can't say.
I feel like the push for this has been going on for much, much longer than this year, but
It
like,
has been
The
going
song
on
is
for
by Hatsune
very
Miku,
long.
for example, as obviously she didn't make it.
I find it really fucking hysterical that Blair has this whole segment about producer credit when she can't be bothered to do that in her own video. Irony. Also, I feel I should point this out. Unhappy Refrain is not necessarily a song about producer credit, and as pointed out by Izzy and Dudu Danyan, the connotation only exists because of a popular fan-made PV. If you read the lyrics, it could be interpreted in several different ways. One interpretation that sticks out to me is being unhappy and overwhelmed with the same routine and pressures, and the ending lines implies the singer is jumping to her death. However, this interpretation is just my own and not necessarily what was intended or what is the right interpretation. And that's kind of the point. Blair purports herself as a Vocaloid fan, I doubt it obviously, and doesn't seem to acknowledge that theorizing about the meanings of Vocaloid songs is a huge thing that even continues to this day. Speculating about the meaning of especially Japanese songs is a big deal in this fandom. A lot of Japanese producers are very fond of using double entendres and vague lyrics, which allows for a whole range of interpretations to be made. Now, not every theory is perfect. Some theories, as well as the way some faux intellectual people assert their dogshit theories absolute, can kiss my whole ass. I also got tired of the whole, well, this person is crazy and they kill people in an asylum XDDDDDD kind of interpretation. I know this whole kind of theorizing comes from 11-year-olds that got held back a year in school, but if that kind of theory would die out, I'd appreciate it. Still, I'm mostly mad that Blair insists that crediting producers is the sole thing that Unhappy Refrain is about. Also, not gonna mention how Wowaka formed Hitorie at all. Also, the label is ballroom, not ballroom. God, there's just more wrong the more you stop and think about it.
Virtual YouTubers, or VTubers, as their live
The
videos are
vocal synth
mainly
user to
published on
VTuber
YouTube, at least so
pipeline.
far, and
Let's
they
go.
are much like other human YouTube hosts or personalities, just digital.
I can't believe we survived that.
Neither can I. So, that video was a mistake in so many ways. I already have 23 pages of script on just this one. And me. Now, I know one thing on everyone's mind is, well, I still like Illuminati's other content, like her anti-MLM and true crime ones. I'm not gonna unsub for one bad video. Well, yourself, you fucking little bitch, because Illuminati only ever gets worse! Blair has an extremely bad reputation in the anti-MLM community and commentary communities. If you thought that this Vocaloid video was badly researched and sloppily put together, you should see the reactions to her other videos. Blair is able to pump videos out almost daily because she has a team of researchers and editors. However, I think most of the reason she's pumping videos into the algorithm is not because she cares or because she's passionate about things like anti-MLM or true crime or talking about historical tech. I think it's because she only cares about the views, subs, and staying relevant despite having an awful reputation. These videos are sloppy and poorly researched, which is how they're getting made so fast. Are they engagement bait? It could be possible, but Blair would never admit it. There was a huge meltdown and falling out within the Vocaloid community Blair had. May I remind you, Blair is 34 years old and still acts like she's in high school? I won't detail it too much in this video, considering it's pretty much the reaction you'd expect from everyone, and I don't want to bore you by repeating myself. Luckily, Truth Sleuth made a pretty decent video that documents a lot of the tweets. I recommend you watch that after this, as even though Truth Sleuth isn't in the know, she's far more respectful as an outsider than Blair could ever hope to be. The TLDR is that Blair calls everyone correcting her misinformation crying children, something I find disingenuous considering a lot of people in the vocal synth fandom are adults. Like, I'm 22 and I'm getting secondhand embarrassment from seeing how Blair acts. What I will cover in this section is how Blair is just exhibiting repeat behavior and refuses to change. Tipster has made several videos about Illuminati and they completely changed my opinion on her and I stopped watching. Now, these videos have been privated, but I did find a video that implemented why I brought up Tipster specifically.
Engaging with you all, I also feel like I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to deliver. For example, I have had a literal breakdown last night when I ran into tech issues while trying to stream. As fun as making videos is, all this pressure to do my best only contributes to even more stress. Tonight, I had the worst anxiety attack of my life. I didn't get much sleep last night due to staying up all night editing videos and further resolving the previously mentioned tech issues. I worked overtime at my daily job today, and work got so busy that I didn't get a chance to take lunch. During the drive home, I began to hyperventilate to the point that I had to pull over and get out of my car to breath. After a few minutes, I thought it was okay, so I got back into the car and proceeded to drive home. This process repeated 2 more times during the course of the entire drive home. As much as I love making videos, I feel like I am seriously putting too much pressure on myself to give you all my best.
It's just deplorable, honestly. Now, I will say her other videos are delivered as sloppily and just as condescendingly as our main subject today, but if I had to explain any more of her content, we'd be here for so much longer. This video is long enough as it is.
I'm unbelievably exhausted. In conclusion, Blair is not at all the authority she claims to be on vocal synth. She and her team made a poorly researched, poorly edited, and sloppily delivered video that wasn't proofread in the slightest. She can't keep getting away with it.
You can't keep getting away with it!
You said it. I don't really have any kind of emotional appeal type message to put here. I'm tired and frustrated because Neeks and I had to debunk an entire half-hour long video full of misinformation about a fandom and software that I grew up with. Just do better than Blair and you're already leagues above her. With that all being said, we're finally at the end. Be sure to look for the unedited live reaction in the coming days. Sorry this took us long enough. It was the long process of doing all the sets of sprites, editing, scripting, actually lining up our schedules for the live reaction, recording all this. Plus a bunch of just stupid life shit getting in the way. By the way, did you notice how Neeks and I both have new sprites? No more big-headed sprites for Gray. Not to eat my own ass, but I really am proud of both sets, especially how adorable Neeks turned out. Each of us are 300% more expressive. I hope that wait was worth it because I just couldn't sit by and let all that misinformation permeate. I hope y'all are in good health. I feel fucking dead after this. Be sure to give Neeks a huge thank you for being my first collaborator and second mic to this video. That was an amazing help. Be sure to follow me on my social medias if you'd like to keep up with me. You can support me by buying me a coffee, buying one of my songs on Bandcamp, or buying something from my Redbubble. Thanks for getting to this point. I'll see you later.
Yo, yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, thanks for inviting me on this, Yoon. It was great to be here. I had fun doing this. Also, I'm actually just reading this off script now, just making it up as I go along. Yeah, make sure to follow me as well. Yeah, my Spotify actually will be linked, hopefully, whatever. Yeah, also make sure to link my channel, Yoon. Bye.